Jumbo Pictures Inc., the staple of the 90s. The first out-of-house studio to rule Nickelodeon, then went straight to Disney and went dormant. Years went by and people wondered whatever happened to Cartoon Pizza, I mean Jumbo Pictures. If the cartoons were grade A quality, why didn't it stand the test of time as a studio? To understand the Jumbo brand, you gotta understand the man who created grade A quality cartoons. Jim Jenkins was born and raised in Richmond, Virginia, and would take various inspirations from his hometown to make cartoons. Later on in life, would graduate from Lipscomb University and land a job at Pinwheel, which is later called Nickelodeon. On Pinwheel, Jim was an actor for the series while also being an actor for Hocus Pocus. Later on in his career would work for Children's Television Workshop, now called Sesame Workshop, to work on shorts and cartoons for Square One Television and later on Sesame Street. By then, this would inspire him to make his most famous cartoon. Jim would be inspired by his works in children's television and education to make a children's book. The character Doug first appeared in his book, Doug's Got a Brand New Pair of Shoes. Jim's book, albeit, would not do well in sales with children's books. Doug would then make appearances in 1989 with Florida Grapefruit Juice and USA Network. By the 90s, Jerry Laybourne would be scouting for people to work for Nicktoons. Jim would be the first one to be scouted by the new president. His pilot script, Doug Can't Dance, would make numbers as corporate executives would love it so much it needed to be a show. Jim would be inspired by the character Doug from this excerpt. Doug is not a powerful character. He is more where I feel that kids are today. They are soft-spoken and bewildered, but they often make the right decisions. What we tried to get across was that you should feel good about yourself and not give in to peer pressure. The underlying foundation was that doing the right thing would pay off. This would make it so he would create his studio, Jumbo Pictures Inc. Doug would be released as the first Nicktoon on Nickelodeon on August 11th of 1991, following Rugrats made by Klasky Csupo Incorporated. Doug is a slice of life show that taught lessons with Doug Funny, played by Billy West, and then Tom McHugh. He moves into Bluffington and meets his new friends, as well as bullies, while also dealing with real situations like fitting in, relationships, peer pressure, self-esteem, and figuring out real friends. The show was co-created by in-house studio Games Animation, while the later seasons would be produced by Ellipse Programme. The success of Doug followed Allegra's Window, which was filmed in Nickelodeon Studios at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida in 1994. Allegra's Window, much like Doug, focused on giving confidence to little kids and how they look and feel about themselves, as well as giving moral lessons about making friends, learning new things, and being confident in one's flaws. By 1995, Jim Jenkins would be in production of Hoyt and Andy Sportsbender, Richard Scarry's Best Videos Ever, and The Beginner's Bible. Jim's time with the Hay Pile would be changed in the late 90s to The House of Mouse, but here is how. After the fourth season of Doug in 1994, Doug would be canceled on Nickelodeon. Due to the policy at the time of having 65 episodes per show, if a show had more than 65, the show then belonged to Nick. If it had less, it belonged to the artist. Doug had 52 episodes, so the IP went back to Jumbo Pictures. Nickelodeon, however, still gets royalties from reruns from other channels and streaming platforms that still air the 4 seasons produced by Nick. After a 2-year hiatus, Jerry Laybourne, former president of Nickelodeon, would call Jim again to bring Doug onto Disney's One Saturday Morning slot, as she was the head chief for the block. Jim would then take Jumbo Pictures to Disney, then bring Doug into a high school setting after Doug's graduation from middle school. Allegra's Window was canceled as Jumbo Pictures was not on Nickelodeon's payroll anymore. While Disney's Doug was taken off on One Saturday Morning, 101 Dalmatians the series was aired in 1997. A new preschool show was then made in lieu of Allegra's Window. pb&j Otter was released in 1998 on Playhouse Disney, with the siblings Peanut, Baby Butter, and Jelly. Now, if you don't remember pb&j Otter, you might remember this. Noodle, use your noodle. Noodle, do the noodle dance. While the shows were taking off, Jim would be an assistant animator to Sabrina the Animated Series. While this would progress, Jim would make a move that would change the course of his work. Jumbo Pictures would have a problem. Most of the shows would only last 2 to 3 years. Doug was ending its season in the early 2000s, and the contract was still binding with Jumbo Pictures under Disney. Jim would close Jumbo Pictures Inc. in 2001. However, all assets are still under Disney, including the Doug properties. After Jumbo Pictures saw its fate in dormancy, Jim would create Cartoon Pizza with David Campbell, Jake Spilum, Beldine Fortano, and Ellie Copeland. Cartoon Pizza would be in contract with the Sesame Workshop and Cup of Coffee Studios. The first cartoon out of Cartoon Pizza was Stanley. Fun fact, the theme song for the show was from the Baha Men. You know, the same guys who had this song? Can't play any more than that. Stanley was a show that taught kids about change and dealing with social interactions by using animals as references, as well as Stanley's informational computer and the Great Big Book of Everything. Oh boy.
It's the Great Big Book of Everything with everything inside. See the world around us, this book's the perfect guide. Are you quite finished?
The studio would also be in the works with Hit Entertainment and Tiger Aspect Productions to distribute Earth Kid in 2002. Stanley would have 3 seasons on Playhouse Disney, while JoJo's Circus would air in 2003 under Cup of Coffee. JoJo's Circus was the first stop-motion animation from Cartoon Pizza and would last 3 seasons along with shorts called Feeling Good with JoJo from 2004 to 2008. By 2005, the last show out of Cartoon Pizza was Pinky Dinky Doo for Nick Jr. and Noggin. The show was meant to teach kids advanced vocabulary skills and to teach kids to use their minds to make stories and how to tell stories. 5 years after the cancellation of Pinky Dinky Doo, the studio went into dormancy and dissolved in 2015. Jim Jenkins made wholesome cartoons. Despite Nickelodeon being edgy, Jim made sure that the cartoons were teaching valuable lessons in how we see ourselves and dealing with real-life situations. Jumbo Pictures also went with varieties in different styles of animation, from live-action puppets to stop-motion animation. When Jim sold to Disney, it was evident that at some point he wouldn't last. Due to Disney wanting full control in IPs and algorithmic competition, it was only a matter of time till Jim sold Jumbo for Cartoon Pizza. Even with contracts still in Disney, he was running the risk of never breaking free from being under the mouse. Not only this, taste in cartoons was changing. Although the art style was diverse and the characters were memorable, Cartoon Pizza wouldn't be able to stand the test of time. But as of today, these cartoons would still be given to the next generation of kids to help them learn moralistic lessons.